20. Stone and Letter. Maya was standing at the little break in the fence around the plot of the Fourquois, the half-smiling bust of the original Fourquois looking out over her shoulder from its marble telephone booth of a monument, and it was almost, she thought for a moment, like one of those sappy old movies her grandmother had used to watch all the time, where someone waits at the gate to welcome the tired soldier home. Only instead of a tired soldier, of course, it was a ghostly swirl of shadow and dust coming up the path toward her now, the echo of a person. That echo kept evolving, too, holding on to its human form for a second or two, and then, as a breath of air met it, losing its edges, rippling, fading, until it could pull itself together again, back into something resembling the shape of a man, striding proudly up the slope, while all around it trees and stones and earth were being unmade, melted, ruined, and that terrible, roaring, tearing sound everywhere, the sound of the world having been bent too far, the sound of the real world finally breaking. "Maya," said the man made of shadow. "Maya, apprentice, well done." The music had stopped. Valco must have remembered to drag Pauline back into safety with him. Good. Maya took a breath of cold, steadying air and tried not to be worried about the tremors rippling through the ground under her feet, the soft whoosh, whoosh of trees losing their last hold on treeness and melting away into nothing, into nonsense. "I am a descendant of the Laverots," Maya told herself firmly, "and we walk in magic." She pulled herself as tall as she could manage. "You have to stop this," said Maya. "You are ruining everything. Can't you see? Your loophole is eating up the world." The shadowy figure shivered, became vague for a moment, shook itself back into focus. "You are Maya," it said, "the one I hound. You will make me whole. You have brought it all with you, the things." "Yes," said Maya, "I have. It's all here." The shadowy Fourquois shuddered again and stepped nearer, while the earth writhed and darkened behind it. "Stone, paper, Maya, life." Maya bit her lip to keep herself steady. When a shadow lurches toward you, its arms shimmering with greed, it is very hard not to turn and run away, or at least to take a hasty step back. "Life," it said, its dark arms reaching forward. "From the heart of something. Life from the heart of a... "From the heart of a zmei," said Maya. "But the thing is, actually I'm not a dragon." The shadow became disorganized, remade itself, came so close that its shadowy violet eyes were looking directly into Maya's face, at her and through her at the same time. "So what this means is, you can't have my heart," said Maya. Somewhere behind her back, Valco gave a faint whoop of approval. That gave her courage. "And it wouldn't do you any good anyway." The thing hissed in her face, a cold breath that smelled faintly of ashes. "Bound to make me whole," it said again. "Maya, Maya, now." And it reached out with one shadowy arm and actually wrapped something like fingers, icy, insubstantial wisps of fingers, around Maya's wrist. It was chanting something to itself now, as if the chant had been some way of holding on to what the shadow needed to know, all these weeks since it had stored its mind in the embassy wall and had had so few words of its own left. Stone, paper, Maya, zmei, stone and letter, mind and body, life from the heart of the zmei. Maya pulled back her hand, but the shadow's fingers, wispy though they were, could not be shaken off. The cold in them sent little rootlets of ice into her skin and into her arm. "Give me my mind back," said the shadow. It looked larger and darker now, and where its eyes should have been were two whirlpools of violet that looked, though that made no sense, even darker than the dark. "You put it in the stone," said Maya. Her teeth stumbled a little over the words. The cold had run up her arm and into her shoulder now. She had never in her whole life been this cold. "Let go." "Give me my mind back now," it said, "my mind and my body, stone and letter, or I swallow you." That was what it was doing, she suddenly understood, with its icy hand on her wrist, It was swallowing her. There was something she had to do. Oh, Maya was trying to think, but the cold running through her made her thinking very hard. The hum of magic, the distant clattering of little bones, the more human rustling and whispering going on somewhere behind her, all of that seemed very far away. The cold was climbing up her neck. The cold was already fingering her brain. You go very still when a shadow is swallowing you. A number of things happened then, all at once. "Hey!" shouted someone infinitely far away. "I got it!" A light was shining, she noticed. Where had the light come from? It came up from her nearly frozen wrist. It seemed almost like part of herself, that light. It was bright like a star. The shadow made a strange sound, the ghost of a sob. The icy pressure on her wrist let up just a little. She was about to be able to think again. It was like a mist pulling back from her, pushed away perhaps by that inexplicable star. An arm that was no shadow went around her shoulders, interrupting her not-quite thoughts. Why was Valco here? He was holding something out in his other hand. He was saying something, but not to her. What he was saying was this: "Here it is, your stupid memory stone. I found it. Let her go and you can have it. But I'll smash it to bits if you don't let her go. And by the way, she never even touched the letter with the bloodstain on it, so you lose." And there in his hand was the gargoyle's egg. "No," said Maya, though she was still so cold that no sound came out of her mouth when she said it. She put her other hand out, the unfrozen hand, to touch it. The gargoyle's egg. She had promised to keep it safe. The starlight was very bright now. It spilled and splintered across the surface of the egg, sending the pictures dancing. The field, the trees, the face that looked like Maya's own. The images brightened and grew and fell apart. Oh, it was the egg itself that was changing. It was trembling under her hand. "Mine," said the shadow. "Let her go," said Valco. I promised to keep it safe," thought Maya. And the egg shook itself into a million pieces of light. It was broken. No, not broken. Changed. Utterly changed. The gargoyle's egg had finally done what eggs are meant to do, that's all. It had hatched. A spray of stone was organizing itself now, in the confused starlit air, an immense whiplash of a body with the most enormous wings. Crack! The stone tail collided with the bust of the old Forkoi and sent a fountain of sparks spinning into the air. "But what is that?" cried Pauline from not very far away. "What is that?" To tell the truth, Maya had completely forgotten, back when the cold was still swallowing her, about Pauline Vian. Now she shouted back, pleased to have a voice again for shouting with. "A gargoyle!" But as soon as she said it, she knew she was wrong. This creature twisting itself into being in the air looked nothing like Beakface or Bonnethead, with their solid, funny stone faces. It was really almost more like fireworks than stone, and the shape was so familiar somehow, the wings and the long tail. Maya caught her breath with a quick, cold gasp. No, this was no gargoyle. It was a dragon, an amazingly salamander-like dragon, an amphibious dragon, a dragon that could live in many more worlds than one. The dragon opened its long, miraculous jaw and let out a great and ancient cry, the sort of thing that must have made people stumble out of their caves millennia ago and look up astonished into the sky. The shadowy Forkoi let go of Maya's wrist entirely. Those violet whirlpools for eyes turned toward the creature that had emerged from the gargoyle's egg. "Zmei!" That was what the shadow said, as it staggered forward toward the creature circling in the air. "Wow," said Valco, still right at Maya's side. "Wow, look at that. Is that really a Zmei? How could two gargoyles have a baby dragon? Is that even possible, genetically speaking?" But he was laughing an amazed sort of laugh as he said it. Not far in front of him, the shadow of Forkoi was reaching up for the salamander dragon, which danced in tight circles in the air, tumbling end over end, stretching its surprising and brand-new wings, crying out with the sheer pleasure of no longer being merely an egg. The shadow leaped up. The dragon darted away. The shadow made a swipe with one of its icy arms, and the dragon slithered around Forkoi's back and climbed another foot into the air. "Watch out!" Maya called to the dragon, but it showed no sign of hearing her. Why didn't it fly itself farther away from the shadow? It spun around and around the darkness, so close to the shadow that it seemed unbelievable that ghost of Fourcoy had not grabbed it yet. "It's like it can't quite get away from him," said Valco, not laughing any more. "See how they dance!" cried Pauline Vian from farther away. She was right, thought Maya. That was what they were doing, dancing, and the circles of the dance were growing tighter and tighter, the shadow's fingers brushing now against the dragon's tail. In a moment the beautiful, bright, stone and fire Zmei would be caught for real, swallowed up by the cold of the shadow, just as Maya had almost been swallowed up. But the Zmei was too lovely. It didn't deserve to be lost in the dark and the cold. She heard herself shouting something, but didn't know what it was. There was a flicker in that deadly dance, the briefest of pauses, and she felt the eyes turn toward her for a moment, the dark violet eyes of the shadow, and the glittering stone and fire eyes of the Zmei. They looked at her and considered something. "Maya," said the shadow. Her name was one of the few words it had left. The Zmei looked deep into her eyes and also knew who she was. A flash of images went splashing across the glittery, fiery lacework of its belly. Forest, rocks, a field in summer. "Oh, watch out," said Maya to the dragon. "He wants to swallow you." And at that very instant the shadow of Fourcoy reached out with one of its terrible arms and grabbed the dragon just like that, thwap, around its bright and narrow throat. The dragon screamed. A ripple went through both of them, the lacy stone of the Zmei and the shadow man, and the shadow became one jot denser and deeper, just like that. It turned its head back to Maya, and the eyes were brighter now, brighter and clearer. It was beginning to remember bits of itself, with its hand clamped to old Fourcoy's memory stone, now become this oh-so-improbable dragon. "Maya," it said. The voice was already about 3 awful steps closer to being human. It was smoother somehow, more certain of itself. Maya shuddered. She was caught in the echo of the poor dragon's scream. She saw the spreading ice crackling up and down its throat, radiating outward from the shadow's cruel hand, and in her own bones she felt the cold spreading and the horror of it. "Quick," said the shadowy Fourcoy, more confident now. "It is time. What a mess you seem to have made of the world. Well, never mind. Now we will mend me." For a moment Maya was flabbergasted, and then she was pretty much spitting mad. "Me making a mess? That's your own selfish loophole ruining everything." The shadow made the strangest noise. It scoffed. "You blind, blind child," it hissed at her. "Haven't you learned a thing about anything all this time? It's you it feeds off of. It's your own magic, your own power, that's undoing the world. Have you really not noticed that?" It was a shock running through her. The tingle in her fingers flared up, subsided, flared up again. She had pointed at the tower. Yes, the night had changed. The magic had started undoing the world when she first touched the stone of the wall. The alarm had gone off. The countdown had started. Something had been triggered in her at that moment. Why? Was it because she was getting older? Was that what happened to Laverots at some point, as they grew into their magic? But it was terrible what had been started then. The universe had begun to bend. "Liar," said Valco with total conviction. And every time the strangeness had come back, the way she had felt it so strongly, like an electric shock to the gut, feeding off her? Feeding off her? Could it be? But that meant she was not keeping anyone safe. She was not saving anybody. She was not making anything right. She, Maya, was what was wrong with the world.